In Moonshiners Season 14, the stakes were high, the stills were boiling, and in the heart of Appalachia, Kenny Law unknowingly filmed his final scene, a moment that now holds a deep, emotional weight for longtime fans. The episode kicked off with Tickle and the Laws facing a tricky situation. They had a golden opportunity, free Sorghum enough to make a solid profit, but something was off. As the team worked the still, it was Kenny Law who noticed it first. Leaning in, he caught a strange, earthy smell rising from the bubbling mash. "Y'all smell that?" Kenny asked, his brow furrowing beneath his cap. He wasn't wrong. The mash had a sharp, almost sour tang, not what you want in a sellable shine. Henry Law, always the optimist, took a sip after distillation. "It ain't bad," he shrugged. "It's just different." But Tickle wasn't convinced. Different could mean unsellable. And in moonshining, if you can't move the product, you might as well pour it out. Kenny's last big call. This is where Kenny Law stepped up for what would unknowingly be his last big moment on Moonshiners. As Tickle paced the dirt lot, running through ideas, Kenny, leaning casually against the still, gestured toward a nearby truck bed loaded with pumpkins. "Why not throw some of them pumpkins in there? Balance out that bite," he suggested, a spark in his eye. It was a classic Kenny move, simple, creative, and risky. Tickle didn't hesitate. "Let's do it," he said, climbing into the bed of the truck and grabbing armfuls of pumpkins. Whether or not he had his wife's permission was a question for later. They hollowed out the pumpkins and tossed them into the mash. The moment felt light-hearted, the crew laughing, Kenny chuckling as he wiped pumpkin guts off his hands, but the stakes were real. A bittersweet victory. Hours later, as steam hissed from the copper coils, Tickle poured out the first sample of the pumpkin-infused sorghum. He took a sip, then passed it to Kenny. Kenny swirled the mason jar, took a long drink, and grinned. "That's it. That's the one." And it was. The pumpkins mellowed the sorghum's harshness, giving it a smooth, sweet finish, something that could sell and sell well. That scene, Kenny smiling, glass in hand, surrounded by friends and family, became his final mark on the show. It wasn't planned. It wasn't scripted. It was just Kenny doing what he did best, trusting his gut, supporting his crew, and leaving behind one last winning batch, a legacy distilled. For fans, this episode now carries a heavier meaning. Kenny's sharp eye and deep-rooted love for the craft were on full display, and his final contribution wasn't just a good batch of shine, it was a reminder of what Moonshiners is all about. In a world of quick fixes and shortcuts, Kenny was old school, a moonshiner who respected tradition but wasn't afraid to shake things up when the moment called for it. The last shot of Kenny Law, him sitting on the back of that truck, pumpkin seeds still on his flannel, grinning as the crew celebrated the successful run. And that's how fans will remember him. A man who loved the work, loved his people, and left behind a legacy that's as smooth as the shine he helped create. Here's to you, Kenny. May the stills run forever in your honor.